Hello, Garland Nixon here, and the criminal game is just about coming to a close in Ukraine, and the thieves are trying to steal every dime they can before the ATM closes. Let's talk. Uh-oh, I got caught drinking. Anyway, so Garland Nixon here, and it is early on a Tuesday morning. I was originally supposed to have Jody Brar, and then I'm in the process of moving, so this background is going to change here within the next week. But I'm moving, and I wasn't able to do. I thought I wasn't going to be able to have Jody Brar on this morning, but my mover said I can't get here till 10, so. And by movers, I mean some people. I mean, I actually hired an actual moving company. I mean, some people that are helping. At any rate, let's get to talking about that. Who cares? It's not important what's happening to Garland. I'll be living in a tent in the woods somewhere. You know what you'll see in the background? You'll see like animals walking by behind me. I'll be like in a tent doing my show live. You'll see, wind flopping a tent in the back. That's why my lot in life. Anyway, so let's get going. Let me just start here when we talk about Ukraine. Okay. And what's happening and what they're doing and what their plans are and why they're doing it and what 28-point plans, 19-point plans, numerous numbered plans. Let's start here, if I may. These people are the neoliberal monsters, bankers, whatever, Macron worked for the Rothschild Bank, right? Okay, here's the deal. To simplify this thing, so we don't have to get overly complicated. When a company is going down, right? Everything's going bad, right? What happens in corporate America or corporate EU, right? The people who run the company look at it. Now, they've paid a lot of their people in the stocks and their people are set up for the long term. They don't want the employees to know that the business is going down. I've been involved in this before. But they want to steal every dime they can. So they'll try to solely sell their stocks, get rid of all of their holdings. They'll start cashing in on different things, selling things, taking loans, all of this, because they know the business is going under. And what they want to do is steal every dime they can before it's too late. Extract every penny they can out of this dying business before the business collapses. That's the game. I've seen it done before. They want to do it in a way so that when this thing falls apart, they can extricate themselves from the disaster and have a pocket full of loot, right? Think about this. What happened at the end of Afghanistan? The guy Ashraf Ghani, right? Old Ashraf Ghani, the reports were, of course, he went to the UAE. He was the puppet president of Afghanistan, and he was last seen in Afghanistan speeding towards the airport. And literally, there were bags of US dollars, bags of money falling out of the truck or whatever that he was in as he, sped towards the plane, falling out on the tarmac, apparently with $160 million of US cash, right? Okay. That's the perfect metaphor. The scam finally fell. He'd been stealing all along, you know that. But now that the scam has fallen, now that the con game, the fraud, the Ponzi scheme is going to pieces, as Ponzi schemes do, he's getting the last bit of money he can, and he's the hell out of there, right? Okay. Bad news, U.S. and Europe, especially Europe. That's what's going on right now. What's happening? They are dying to get their mitts, the von der Leyen's, the EU, and that whole crew. Right? They're dying to get their mitts on those Russian money, on the Russian money. Now, you may ask yourself, why? Why are they? Obviously, Ukraine is falling. Obviously, the war is lost. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's illogical. The war is obviously clearly lost. City after city, town after town, burg after burg falling to the Russians on a daily basis. right? Corruption scams from Brussels to Ukraine everywhere. The Americans are trying to duck out on them. Trump's like, I'm out of here, guys. Come on. This thing's falling apart, right? So there's one thing I say about logic. Nothing's illogical. You have to discard it. It couldn't happen if it wasn't logical, right? You just have to figure out the logic in it, why it is logical. Don't say that's illogical. I say it sometimes, but in reality, it doesn't make sense. But it has to make sense if it happens, right? Let's look at it. The war is obviously lost. It wasn't a war, the proxy war, the attempt to use Ukraine to weaken Russia has catastrophically failed, and they've gotten the opposite. And now, as everybody's looking, saying, "Oh my God, this thing's going to pieces," and they're like, "Okay, well, we got to take all the Russian money. We got to get every dime we can. U.S., we need more money. Citizens, how can we get billions of dollars? We need more money." In what appears to be a failing enterprise. Now, let us do an opposite. Let us reverse this thing, okay? Instead of saying that doesn't make sense, why don't we say, why would it make sense? In my initial context, what did I say? A business, a company, it's got 6 months left. And the board of directors knows it, but the people in the company don't know it. The workers don't know it. The investors don't know it. Nobody knows it but the board of directors and the president. They know that this business is going down soon. They're looking at the liabilities and assets, and they're saying, okay, what kind of liabilities do we have? We got $80 million in liabilities. What kind of assets do we have? Minus 50 million in assets. Holy crap. What can we do? Well, if we continue to borrow the maximum amount of money that we can pay our bills for another 4 months. And then chapter 11, we go out of business. Okay, great. Now we've got the data. The game is over. This company's going under. What do? We enrich ourselves as best we can. And then we skate, man. Then we roll. Then we just send everybody a letter. Everybody comes in one day and their key doesn't work and everything. What's happening? And it goes in the news. The Garland Nixon Incorporated has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, right? And people start looking in there like, people are questioning why over the last couple of months Garland Nixon has been selling his stock, taking loans out, doing this, that, and the other, right? He's been enriching himself because he knew it was going under along with the board of directors. Now let's get back to what's happening here. The company is going under in Ukraine. The whole game, the whole product they were selling, regime change in Russia, weakening Russia, taking everything Russia, that has got months, weeks left, maybe a year, I don't know. It's going down fast. So all they're saying is, we got to get every dime we can before this thing goes. That's all it is. Why are they trying to? They're like, crap. Russia's got add this. I keep saying this. The number was 300 billion. Now it seems to be 40 billion. How in the hell could the Russian assets in Europe go from 300 billion to 105? I've seen different numbers, 220, 180, 140. Next thing you know, it's going to be the Russian assets are about couple hundred bucks. Why? Because they've been stealing it all along. And if it ends, everybody finds out they've been stealing it. So they got to keep it going, because they can't have anybody look at the actual numbers. Oh, yes, we've got to take some more. I mean, we've got to take some of the Russian assets. So they've been stealing Russian assets. So they can't find that out, because if the Russians, the U.S., the International Bank, whatever, say you got to give it back, they don't have it. And they stole it and they lied, number one. Number two, the game is going under, right? So what do you do in a corporation when a game's going under? You steal everything you can. You have $160 billion in cash, and you race to the tarmac in Kabul, and you take off on a plane for the EU. I mean, for the UAE, and you hang out there, right? What do? This thing's going under. They're not going to do less money. They're not going to steal less. That's when they're like, oh crap, it's going under. We got to get it all now. That's all it is. They're delusional. They don't even They ain't delusional. You're delusional. If you think they don't know what the hell's going on, what do you think this was? You think this was like a war for democracy or something? This whole thing was a scam. It was a fraud. It was a con. Look, they went to Afghanistan. They were there for 20 years. What did they say? For 20 years. Well, we can't possibly leave Afghanistan. It'll be a hotbed of terror. What was the term they used? An incubator of terror. God forbid we would leave the ISIS, who we fund and train, whatever. ISIS would come in and they would plot another 9/11, fly into buildings. Their passports would all fly out the window and flutter to the ground unscathed, just like on 9/11. From Chicago to Sears Building, you name it. Probably the Staples Center outside of LA. They'd surely hit that. And then buildings in the area, just like Building 11, would all collapse. They'd hit one building with a plane, wham, and other buildings in the area would go, that kind of sucks. That kind of scares me. I think I'll collapse too, because buildings tend to do that when they get struck by planes. Buildings in the vicinity tend to collapse, and passports flutter to the ground unscathed. Right? The game is up, and they don't care. They've been doing this for centuries. They've been overthrowing countries. They've been stealing everything they got, and then when it's all over, the criminals come together and they divvy up what's left, and if they can steal a little bit more. So now they're like, look, we got to get this Russian assets now, or we'll never get them. That's what it's really is. First of all, do you think they really want to get the Russian assets to send them to Ukraine? How about this? The United States can't deliver the weapons now. They're paying the U.S. for weapons on order. Hey, can we get a couple of those Abrams tanks? You can get as many as you want. All right. How about if we pay you for 250? Excellent. We'll take the money. When do we get the 250? Well, that's a whole nother story. 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever the hell. You'll get them at some point. Okay. As long as I get my cut. See, they don't even care. They're going to take the money. Yes, we'll buy you. We'll pay you 5 times what an Abrams tank's worth for Abrams tanks that will be delivered in 10 years. Oh, by the way, we're actually paying you 10 times, but we're keeping half. What do we care? We're all trying to eat, brother. We're all trying to eat. So they're all stealing everything they can. Corruption everywhere. Look, I don't know if you saw the video recently, but Donald Trump's son was talking about, he was in Monaco or somewhere, where the rich people are in Europe, wherever. And he's like, all I saw was Bugattis and supercars, and they all had Ukrainian tags. Oh, yeah. But look, they might as well have had Washington, D.C. tags, because they were paid for straight out of DC, straight out of London, straight out of US money. It's always been a scam. That's the game. The whole thing is a scam. And now that the scam is going down, the thievery increases at the end. That's all you have to understand. Bankers and businesses, look. Think about 2008, right? They were stealing in the 90s. The closer it got to 2008, then just, what was it, 2006 or so, they came up with those, what were those loans called? Ninja loans. They were lending houses, right? They called them ninja loans. This is to understand how the depth of these scams. Let me explain ninja loans. Garland Nixon, do you have a job? No, I don't have a job. Got any education? Nah. Skills, maybe? Nah. Fair enough. How's your credit? I don't really have any. Okay. Would you like to buy this house for $700,000? Well, yeah, but I don't have any money. Don't worry about it. Number one, we're going to sell you this house. We're going to do the loan, your house. Yeah, but I don't have any money. Don't worry about it. Number one, you don't have to pay anything on this house for the first 2 years. Okay. I like that, but I still can't. You need furniture or something? Yeah. We'll give you $50,000. So that's a $700,000 house. We'll write it up for $750,000. We'll give you $50,000. We will put you in this house. You don't have to pay a dime for 2 years. Now, of course, I know you're never going to pay, because at the end of 2 years, you're just going to move, right? You ain't got to pay. How does that sound? Damn, that sounds pretty good. Are you going to check my credit? No. You know why? Because it's a ninja loan. You have no income, no job, no assets. N-I-N. What is it? N-I, no income, no job, N-J, no assets, N-A, Ninja, no income, no job, no assets. We put you in a $700,000 house, give you extra $50,000. There's your loan. Then we put together 1,000 of those loans and sell them, knowing that every one of them's gone in 2 years, dead, defaulted. And then the guy that sells them takes out does a credit default swap, right? He basically goes to an insurance company and says, look, I got these loans. Oh, by the way, Moody has classified these as AAA loans. Why? Because we pay Moody off and we own Moody. So now I got loans that I know in 2 years are going to completely, every one of them is going to default, but they're marked as AAA, which means I can take out insurance on them. I take out insurance on every one of these loans, knowing that in 2 years they're going to default. They then default. I go to the insurance company, collect my money. I basically shorted every one of these houses. Okay. So these things start really, these ninja loans start rolling. What was that? They're getting closer to the end and they're finding ways to steal more and more and more. And the closer they get to the end and the more they steal, the quicker the end comes. That's what happened in 2008. They found more and more creative ways to steal every dime that wasn't nailed down. Then they got the government to print money and they stole that too. And the closer they got to 2008, the more creative they got in how to steal money. And they're like, oh, this thing's about to come to an end. We got to steal more and more and more and more. That's what's going on here. So what you will see now, what you are seeing in this desperation to get a hold of the Russian money is they know this. They've already stole a lot of it. They know that they can't pay that back. So why not steal more? Right? Look, if you find a guy gambling, he goes into the casino, he loses $1,000. Holy crap, I got to win that back. He's going to do another 1,000. Oh man, now I'm in deep trouble. He's going to bet another 1,000. Oh, where's my credit card? It's going to spin out of control. Right? That's the way criminal money theft and gambling works. So now it's simple. What you're going to see, don't be shocked. Don't be like, this is weird. Now, why are they trying to get the Russian assets? Not just the Macrons and these people. That money permeates throughout the system. If they get, let's say, another 100 billion, right? How much you think the Rothschild Bank is going to get? How much you think out of that JP Morgan is going to get? How much you think out of that Raytheon is going to get? General Dynamics is going to get. BAE is going to get. Lockheed Martin is going to get. They're going to order planes. None of that stuff's ever going to be delivered, and they know it's never going to be delivered. The idea is, I got Lockheed Martin. I'm going to get paid $10 billion for stuff that I'm never going to have to deliver. Why? Because there will be no Ukraine to deliver it to by the time it's supposed to be delivered. And I know this because the people that gave me that $10 billion to buy planes knew it would never be delivered, but they got their cut. So they'll never come to me and ask me to deliver them. So I just got $10 billion. You think I'm going to rat them out? No, I ain't ratting them out. Oh, by the way, if you look at Trump's 20, however many point plan is, not Trump, but whatever, this joke of a plan, of these plans, right? It's an attempt for the U.S. to get out and to lose without losing, right? One of them says, everybody will be held harmless. One of them basically says nobody's going to be prosecuted for anything. Isn't that interesting? Let's not forget. Let's add two things together. Number one, when Biden was in office, a couple of the Republicans, Rand Paul and somebody else, put in a bill that said, we have to audit and see where money's going and what's happening to our money in Ukraine. It was killed. Are you kidding me? Audit the money? Dude, we know where the money is going, right here in our pockets. So they said no. Now, add that. And then like a bunch of Republicans went, oh my God, that's terrible. People were like, this is horrible, unthinkable. Oh, they're stealing the money. So now we have a plan, however many points it is. I can't keep track. That changes on a day-to-day basis. And this new plan says nobody will be held harmless. I'm going to find that for you. I got the plan somewhere. Let's see. Point plan. Let me see. I can't find this 28-point plan. But bottom line is this. I can't find it right now, but I'm not going to spend all the time looking for it. But the bottom line is here. The Democrats initially said, we can't do an audit to figure out where the money's going. And now we have a plan that says nobody will be prosecuted for anything. Now, one may say, well, that applies to war crimes. So why wouldn't they want to, this is no, people have got to be held responsible for war crimes. They ain't got nothing to do with war crimes. Let's face it, the war crimes is the data, it's, with the empire or the EU. I mean, war crimes is just what they do. It's just a Thursday. Hey, what are you going to do? War crimes. What day is it? Thursday. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's the way it is. If you're, a US or EU leader, war crimes, they're, war crimes, nothing. That's not even a thought to them. When they say that, that's really about financial crimes. What they're really saying is, no, we want to put it in writing that when we find out that they've stolen every single thing everywhere, when we find out that people have been taking our money, putting it in their accounts, it's been going into crypto, it's been going everywhere, coming back to Washington, D.C., London, Berlin, Paris. When we find out all this criminal activity, we'll have it in writing that nobody's going to be held accountable. Isn't that sweet? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that truly wonderful? You got to love these people. So my point being this, when you look at, as we see this thing unraveling, what we will notice is the desperation gets louder and starts to scream, but it's not going to be a desperation to end it. It's not going to be a desperation that has anything to do with the conflict. It's going to be a desperation that has to do with, oh my gosh, the ATM is going to shut down. How much can I steal before it shuts down? And how do we ensure that nobody's held accountable for stealing all this money? We got to steal all this money. We got to make sure that nobody's held accountable for stealing all of this money. So right now, there's a what's the term I'm looking for? There's a puppet show going on where, they're going to talk about point plans. And basically, in a nutshell, if we are honest, we look at this and we say, Trump came up with some of whatever plan. And I guess he said he's going to force his plan, I guess, is to force the Ukrainians to take it. And to then, after he forces the Ukrainians to take it, then to negotiate the rest of it out with the Russians. Okay. And the Europeans are like, okay, we're going to come up with another plan. Well, that just means they rejected that plan, who's shocked? They had to reject the plan. Again, they can't have somebody start saying, we're going to return the Russian assets. Let's count them. Oh, wait a minute. It was 300 billion. What happens when the Russians show the actual numbers? We have receipts for the money that we have put in these various accounts. Here is the documentation. Give us the money back. And the Europeans are like, we have less than half of it to give you back. And then here's the problem. Won't that reveal that the whole thing was a scam? Won't that reveal, as soon as the Russians say, hey, can I have our money back? And who knows, Trump could be crazy enough to say, yeah, give them the money back. But the Russians can take them to court. What happens if they take them to court and the court says, give the Russians the money back? And the money ain't there. And what we find out is this, that Euroclear was always a scam. That the idea that Euroclear was saying, we're going to hold on to the money and we'll hold your money and your money's safe with us, that nobody's money is safe. Not just because they'll officially take it using, lawfare, not just because they'll try to justify some sanctions and take it. But what people find out was this money was stolen before they even talked about stealing it. That like they just wandered in on a given day, they just wandered into the vault. What you got there? Whoever his name would be in Belgium. Oh, we got a bunch of gold in there. Oh, it's nice shiny gold bars you got there, huh? Because yeah, they sure look pretty. Oh, tell you what, I'm gonna grab a couple of these gold bars. I'll get them back to you in a week or so. I just want to take them home, shine them up, look, show them to the kids. Sure, go right ahead. How many gold bars you taking? I'm taking 5. Well, you might as well give me one. Okay, Here's yours. I'm taking 5. Gone. That's Starmer. Next week, Macron. Hello. Yeah. Emmanuel Macron, I just wanted to take a look at some of that gold in there. Sure, right ahead. I was thinking, if I was to take 6 gold bars home, you could hold on to one. And, we don't really have to talk about this. This is important right now. And we'll discuss it at a later time. There's Belgium. Pass some gold bar. Macron takes his 6. Week later, there's old BlackRock Merrills. Hello, my turn to eat. My turn. That's what happened. They stole it. Now, think of the catastrophe. It would be bad enough if they came up with some European law and they just took the money. That would be bad enough. That would be terrible, disastrous, catastrophic. But what if we find out they had stolen it before they even did any of that? That they just kind of casually were milking that money out a little bit at a time. Well, then someone's going to say, well, then what happened to it? I guess it went to Ukraine. Well, not exactly to Ukraine. It got converted into crypto in Sam Bankman-Fried's crypto scam company and went somewhere. We don't even know where it went. Oh, really? $160 billion disappeared through a scam crypto company, and you have no idea where it went. And Euroclear doesn't even have records of who took it out. All they know is it's gone. Who took it out? We don't know. Where'd it go? Don't know. Perhaps it's skipped. Where'd you transfer it to? A Sam Bankman-Fried's crypto company. What happened to it then? Well, that company had holes and back doors and all kinds of things, so we don't really know. Now, you are Saudi Arabia, you're from Dubai, you're wherever the hell. You got hundreds of billions in Euroclear. What do you know now that your money ain't safe? So right now, here's the truth about Euroclear. It's worth a crap. They've been robbing it. How about we go one further? I'm not making an allegation or an assertion. I'm just throwing out a possibility. If, as I suspect, they have been stealing the Russian money out of Euroclear all along, do you think that's a pattern? Do you think if they've been pilfering the Russian money out of Ukraine, out of Euroclear all along, you don't think they've been stealing the other money? You think that's the only money they've been stealing? You think these criminals are just going to steal the Russian money? You don't think they've been doing this all along? You don't think that when the Saudis call, oh, Euroclear, yeah, we're supposed to have 400 billion in. Do we still have our 4 billion? I know the Russians, 160 billion got stolen from us. Is our 400 billion still there? We want our 400 billion. Euroclear is going to go, well, about that 400 billion. We'll get it to you if you give us a little bit of time. Right now, we've got some things. Our computers are down. Oh, God. Microsoft Windows is one day it's there. You get the blue screen of death. We'll get you your 400 billion. But right now, we don't have the access to our system. And we may be just a few dollars of that might be missing. But most of it will be get back to you. And the Saudis, of course, will say, well, how much do you think you can get back to us? $1 billion or two, maybe 2 billion. We only, 2 billion. How about that? Out of 400 billion. They've been stealing everybody's, brother. Euroclear is a scam. And in fact, I'll say this. If people start peeping around those banks in Europe, what do you think they're going to find? If people start going, see, there is a catastrophe awaiting. What happens if Euroclear is exposed as a scam? And all of these governments that have been putting their sovereign wealth funds in Euroclear find out that it ain't all there. You don't think they're going to check with the rest of the banks? You don't think there could be a run on European banks from people outside of Europe? Oh my God, get your capital out of Europe. They're stealing it. When people start coming for their money, hello, Credit Suisse? Yeah. Can we have $100 billion? You too, huh? Yeah, me too. The answer is no. In short, no. Yeah, so, okay, the jig is up. We stole it. That's where we are. That is where it is. They stolen the money from Euroclear, and they didn't just steal the Russians' money. They stole the Russians, the Prussians, the Smussians. It don't matter. The money has been stolen. See, the giveaway, believe it or not, and this is going to sound absurd to some people, but not to others. The giveaway was the Canadian truckers. Do you remember the Canadian truckers? And they started, people were like, had donated like $25 or something, and they would freeze their account. And they'd be like, hey, when I gave you $25, you hadn't even told me I couldn't do it. And we started being like, what are they doing with these banks? And they're taking people's money, they're locking people's account. Back then, we should have started looking at these banks with a jaundiced eye, shall I say. We should have started looking at them back then and saying, you know, I think we need to look a little bit deeper. How about this? HSBC. You remember what happened with HSBC? They got caught laundering drug money. They then hired Jim Comey, who came in and got them out of it. They paid a fine. A year later, they were, and it promised never to do it again. A year later, they were doing it again. In fact, I know a guy who looks into that stuff, and he says he believes that approximately 30% of all the money in these major banks comes from drug cartels and organized crime. And I believe it. So here's the bottom line. A gigantic catastrophe that awaits is keep in mind something. You know, we're dealing with criminals. I don't have to get back into what happened in 2008. They stole everything. They obliterated the system, and the government bailed them out, right? Every one of these banks. Somebody said Citibank too. Of course. The ones that haven't been caught have been caught. How about this? JP Morgan under Jamie Dimon, they got caught dealing money with Epstein, and they ended up having to pay, I think, $290 million. They were laundering, but Epstein was involved in everything. In gun running, you name it. So JP Morgan was involved in all kind of criminal activity. So here's the bottom line. These Western banks are parts of criminal cartels. And so what they're afraid of is once that door opens, once these companies that are parking these countries that are parking their sovereign wealth funds in the West start to look at the Western banking cartels and realize it's all a scam, that the money's being stolen, that Euroclear is a scam. They get you to park your sovereign wealth funds and they steal it. Oh, how about this? Did you know this? A couple years ago, Venezuela said to the Bank of London, we have $1.4 billion in gold in your bank. Can we have it back? We need it back. And London said, no, you can't because you're under sanctions. They just stole it. They kept it. They were never giving it back. It's one way in. Get the money in, you ain't getting it back. The Russians, get the money in here, we're going to find a way to keep it. But regime change make a lot of money. And one of the ways they make money is to steal your sovereign wealth fund. Look, how about this? Watch this. Watch this. You don't believe me? Let me show you something. Watch this. Let me find it. Let me show you something. Watch this. I'm going to show you two things. Number one, let me show you what kind of a scam we're looking at. Here's one. Libyan sovereign fund has 68 billion in frozen assets, right? The Libyan sovereign fund has 68 billion. Remember, that's a country they overthrew, right? So they had 68 billion. Now, 68 billion, right? Let's do another one. Libyan sovereign wealth fund missing 2.9 billion. Some 2.9 billion is missing from the accounts of the Libyan Sovereign Wealth Fund. The official task with tracking down Libya's foreign investments, has told the BBC, right? Libya has total funds worth 70 billion. Now, so let me tell you this. They overthrew the government of Libya. Libya had like 70 billion in wealth funds. I'm not going to keep going, but you see where I'm going. Eventually, you know what happened? It was all missing. So they overthrew the government of Libya. Libya had a sovereign wealth fund of $70 billion, which my understanding is it was kept in London. And you know what they said? We can't find it. London can't find it. You imagine that? Here, can you hold $100? My $100? Sure, I'll give it back to you tomorrow. Okay, fair enough. Can I have my $100 back? We don't know where it's at. What happened to Garland? Somebody killed him, and now we can't find his money. And oh, by the way, the people that killed him, yeah, were the people that he gave his money to, and now they can't find it. They overthrew Libya. They're stealing the oil. They're pumping the oil out, selling it on the market. And oh, by the way, they can't find their $70 billion wealth fund. It mysteriously disappeared. What do you think they're doing with Russia's $300 billion? It's now down to $140 billion. How do you think that where do you think that $160 billion went? That they're not going to be able to find that either. This is the game. They steal the money. And so now that they're in the process of winding down this another what would be a catastrophic loss, it ain't a catastrophic loss. It's a catastrophic theft. The question, what they're doing now is this. They're trying to figure out, how do we get out of this thing in a way that people don't understand, don't find out how much we've stolen. See, it's one thing to steal it from the Russians. See, if you steal it from the Libyans, you overthrow the Libyan government, nobody ever finds out you stole it. I mean, and if they do, you just say, we can't find it, right? Now, the plan was the same for Russia. We overthrow Russia. We do this, Russia's government falls, we keep the 300 billion, and nobody can look into it because Russia's government fell. So as long as your regime change is effective, you keep all the money, you steal more, nobody ever knows you stole it. You just say, we can't find it, right? Now, you do this to Putin's overdone. You put in another Boris Yeltsin, drunken Yeltsin, and then where's the Russia's sovereign wealth funds? I don't know. It's 300 billion. I mean, 140 billion. We don't know. But if you're not effective in your regime change and the government survives and they come back and ask you for your money, see, this has never happened before. What's your excuse? What do you say? You have nothing to say. You're out of money. And that's where they are. And now they're looking for a way. And and I'll bet you this. The United States is like, look, we've got this plan and we can't believe that the Europeans won't go along with it. You think they're not talking to them behind closed doors? They're like playing this good cop, bad cop, cat and mouse game. You think they're not like, all right, guys, we're going to keep the pressure on you. Okay, thanks. Keep the pressure on us. We got to drag this thing out. Yeah. Everybody's going to get their fair share. Yeah, I'm getting my fair share too. All right, let's keep dragging it out. Let's keep pretending like we don't know what's going on. And the Russians are smashing things and we'll come up with something. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to come up with something. It's always about the money, my friends. Do not be misled. That's where we are now. Now, let me add this. They're not stupid. So here's the next thing. And I mean, I want you to think about this. They ain't stupid, nor are they really delusional. They're thieves, and they're good thieves. Don't underestimate how good thieves they are. Don't think they're stupid and delusional and idiots. Think about this. This is Europe now. We have to organize, and we have to reorganize our military, and we have to buy all of this expensive stuff so that we can be ready to take on the Russians by 2030. And of course, the U.S.'s new plan. Now you got to take them on by 2027, a year. So the Europeans are going to rebuild their militaries in, say, 3 years. Give them 2030. But they don't really have any industry to rebuild them. They don't even have the money to keep the Ukrainians going. Think about it. You think they're delusional and stupid. They don't even have the money to keep the Ukrainians going. They're trying to steal that so that before this thing falls apart. So you think that they can't figure out that they can't build tanks and planes and armored personnel carriers. And by the way, did I mention this? Let's see what we got here. 70% of Germans unhappy with the government. Support for Chancellor Friedrich Merz's cabinet has hit a record low. Youth-led protests sweep Germany as Merz moves to revive conscription. Demonstrators across some 90 cities have denounced the legal change, which they see as laying the groundwork for full conscription. The right-wing AfD is the most popular party in Germany, according to a poll that suggests only 22% support Chancellor Merz. Chaos erupts at a protest against new right-wing German youth group, right? Here's the bottom line. They know that you can't, with 11, 12, 15, 20% approval rating, they know good and damn well that if they're like, okay, all you people who are in the street protesting against conscription, yeah, you're effectively conscripted. And we're sending you to the Russian front to fight on Russia's border, to fight against Russia. How long would that last? Minutes. They'd overthrow the government and out would come the guillotine. So they know that. They're not stupid. So this is rhetoric for more theft. Hey, sorry, we've got to do this. What are you going to do? So now what are they saying? What we're going to do is we're going to take the money that we were spending for school, education, roads, things like that. That's got to go to military. But wait a minute, it's got to go to build military stuff that we don't have the capacity to build, and the U.S. doesn't have the capacity to build. So the only thing we can do is take that money and pay for military stuff that ain't coming, that's never going to come. In other words, I'm a German leader. Germany is collapsing. What do I do in a company when it collapses? I steal everything I can the last 6 months before it collapses. And I come up with an excuse. We've got to be ready to fight Russia. I mean, the Americans, I mean, the European people, God knows some of them are this stupid, but they're supposed to believe that there's Russian drones flying around Heathrow, that the Russians somehow found a way to launch drones in Russia, which then fly all the way to Germany, Heathrow, Italy, wherever, and then hover around the airport and then fly and don't do anything. They just hover around and shine their lights or something because they're even Russian drones and they're trying to harass something. They fly all the way to Heathrow. Then they fly all the way back to Russia. Boy, their drones sure have and how did they get in their airspace without being picked up by radar? And then just little drones fly around and then fly all the way back to Russia, all the way across the continent, not picked up by anybody else's. Do you think they're stupid enough to really believe that? No, that's for the suckers. So they can keep the grift going. Because A, they like to keep the grift going. And B, if the grift falls apart, everything's exposed. That's the way I see it. And they're like, hey, there's rich Ukrainians everywhere in Monaco. What do you think we should do there, Dad? This is Donald Trump Jr. Let's write a peace plan. We're going to call it that. One of the parts of that peace plan will say none of these people will be held accountable for stealing all this money. Think about this. We just grabbed what's the freaking guy's name? The second Yermak or whoever the hell, right? We just grabbed Yermak for stealing Mindich for stealing $100 million. He fled to Israel. But if this peace plan goes through, then Mindich can come the hell back to Kiev, because under this peace plan, for any war crime, for any crimes that they've done, nobody can be held accountable. So under this peace plan, get the peace plan come, and Mindich, hey Mindich, you stole $100 million. What are you going to do? I'm going back to Ukraine, bro. Why wouldn't I? Read this. Look, number 8. Nobody will be held accountable for any crimes they made. So the bottom line is this. That's their devious plot. They know it's going to crash. And these poor Ukrainian soldiers on the front line are absolute cannon fodder. And do I really think that they're planning to take the people who won't be in government in 2030? Think about this. You think Macron or Starmer, do you think either one of those actually believes that do you think Macron believes he'll be reelected? You think Starmer thinks he's going to make it till 2030? They both know the truth. Their job is to get every dime they can out of this operation before they go. And then the hell with the next person. Even if the people elect somebody they want, they'll be broke. And they'll be worse than broke. You know what's worse than broke? You're going to owe all that money back for Euroclear and other places. And when the Saudis call for their money, you're going to owe them too, because that's been stolen. When the UAE and Qatar calls, hey, I understand there's a little problem with the money. Can we get our $500 billion? Some of it. The rest we're working on some things. Did I mention our computers are down? That's pretty much it. And the Russians are just going to keep on marching along because that's what they do. The game is up. The jig is up. And here's Trump. Here's this. Okay, Trump. Zelensky must hold elections. The U.S. president has urged Ukraine to hold elections, questioning the country's democratic credentials. Oh, really? So Zelensky outlawed every other party except his, closed down all the TV and radio stations, and only allow them to put to turn them into one. And they pump out war propaganda 24 hours a day. And you're questioning their democratic credentials. Oh, and why did he do that? At the behest of the United States, and it was paid for by the United States. And at one point, we found out that over 90% of all Ukrainian media was paid for by the United States. And you're questioning his democratic credentials. We already know the answer to that question, I think, and so does Donald Trump. It's a game. They haven't had an election in a long time. You know, they talk about a democracy, but it gets to a point where it's not a democracy anymore. And neither is this, and neither is the EU. Sorry, not happening. Let's see. U.S. President Donald Trump has called on Vladimir Zelensky to start accepting peace proposals. At some point, sides will win. And this is a massive size, Trump said, insisting that Zelensky should start reading the latest draft of the U.S. peace proposal. Why would he read it? He doesn't have the ability to do anything. So what? So what? So what? If let's run this through. Zelensky says, you know what, President Trump, I like this. You can give it to Putin. Tell him I don't care what. I'm writing it down. Boom, boom. I sign. What do you think? You think when Trump, if Zelensky picked up the phone, hello? Yes, leaders of the Azov battalion. Yes, I've decided to accept the deal so you guys can come back to Kiev. And oh, by the way, you can't really, because part of the deal says denazification. So if you come back, you'll be arrested, killed. Your ideology will be done. What do you think? That the Azov battalion is going to be like, great idea, guys. We're on the way back right now. We'll be back. Hey, can you send us a bus? No. If Zelensky does that, hey guys, we need you to stop fighting. They're going to say, if you come back to Kiev, we're putting a rope around your stinking neck and we're hanging you in the middle of Banderite Square. That's it. So bottom line is the whole thing's a scam. The whole thing's a fraud. And keep it up. Keep watching this. Enjoying enjoy the crap show. All right. Let me see who has to say what. Super chats. Can you please cover the Isaac Accords? Well, I haven't, not really, because what I don't like to do, I haven't studied the Isaac Accords. So I can't do that now. But thank you very much. That's a good idea. I'll look into the Isaac Accords, find out more about them, and then I can cover them when I know a little bit more about them. But thank you for the offer, for the request and prompting me to do that. Well, unfortunately, I got to get going because, again, I only got a few minutes before I got to get my people going to be here, and I'm going to be moving stuff. So I want to thank you very much. Don't forget, everybody, thanks everybody for Patreon. If you could afford it, I certainly appreciate Patreon's guests. PayPal, you can donate through that. Buy me a coffee is an always easy way. It'll say just like buy Garland a coffee. How many? They're like $5 each, as many as you want. Cash App, you can use that. And of course, I got a P.O. box. You can mail to the P.O. box. Okay. You can send me, people send magazines, people send books, people send, all kinds of stuff. Just a letter to say, hey, thanks a lot, Garland. I appreciate that. Even people just send letters to say, thanks a lot. I appreciate your work. Makes me feel good. And then other people send donations if you can afford it. Thank you very much. I'm actually part of the donations right now. I'm putting it away to fund my next trip to Russia. Hope to have another trip to Russia. The money is, if you send a donation to the P.O. box or somewhere else, if you put this is specifically for your next trip to Russia, that definitely goes into that kitty. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a wonderful time today. Enjoy all the great stuff out there. Share this on all your social media platform. And I'm going to, what I'm going to actually do? I'm going to take out my little speaker while I get ready to start moving, and I'm going to listen to the rest of Jamal Thomas's show till 10. I like it. He has great guests. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. I'm out.